There are moments in a person's life when everything looks normal on the outside, yet something deep within your environment begins to fight your peace, your joy, your destiny. You dress up in the morning, you smile at the mirror, you step out into your world, but your day begins to carry a weight that does not match the effort you put into it. You begin to ask, why does it feel like something unseen is pulling strings behind the scenes? Why does my progress confront resistance I cannot logically explain? Why does something follow me that I cannot touch, yet I feel? Many do not know that the spiritual realm is more active than the physical. Battles are fought before your eyes ever open. Victories are won before your feet touch the ground. And sometimes the things that fight you do not stand in front of you. They hide around you. They camouflage themselves under the ordinary, hoping you never look deep enough to discern what is happening. And so tonight, I want to open your eyes, not to scare you, but to empower you, not to make you suspicious of people, but to make you conscious of atmospheres, not to teach you fear, but to awaken the authority that has been sleeping on your inside. Because when you understand the forces contending with your destiny, you stop negotiating with anything that threatens your rising. You stop apologizing for your victory. You stop bowing to the voices that want you silent. You rise with light, and where light stands, darkness flees. There are things the enemy hides in the garments of your life, symbols, patterns, weights, and energies, hoping you never discern them. They are not physical objects sewn into your clothes. They are spiritual substances planted like seeds, waiting for the right moment to attach themselves to your emotions, your mind, your favor, your confidence, your identity. And yet you wake up every day wearing them without knowing. But today, your eyes will open. One of the first hidden objects that finds its way into the garments of your life is fear. It wraps itself like a thread woven through your confidence. You stand before opportunities that were created with your name on them, and suddenly something whispers, what if you fail? What if you're not enough? What if you lose everything? And the sad part is that fear never announces itself with a loud arrival. It hides subtly like a pin in your shirt. You don't notice it until it pricks you at the critical moment. Fear hides in closer boldness. It hides in people who look courageous on the outside. It hides in those who smile publicly but tremble privately. And if you do not discern it, you will mistake fear for humility and sabotage your own destiny. Another object that hides itself in the garments of your life is guilt and shame. Many people walk around dressed in pain that happened years ago. They hide it with makeup, fashion, perfume, expensive fabrics, but deep down, something is hanging on them. It drains their confidence. It whispers to them before bedtime. It steals their voice, and like a piece of cloth hidden inside a layer of clothing, shame hides where nobody can see, yet everybody can sense something is wrong. Shame makes you question your worth. It makes you hide from help. It makes you run from the very breakthroughs God has prepared for you. Shame is a garment that never fits. Yet so many people keep wearing it because they believe they deserve nothing better. But tonight, something will shift in your atmosphere. You cannot wear shame and expect to shine. You cannot dress in regret and expect to walk into a room with authority. Something must break off your life. There is also manipulation that hides itself in the garments of your relationships. Many people think evil influence only appears with strange symbols or dark rituals. No, sometimes it hides in the compliments you love so much. It hides in friendships that praise you but secretly sabotage you. It hides in the voices that tell you, don't try, don't grow, don't rise, don't believe. It hides in emotional strings tied to your back, pulling you in directions you never planned to go. Manipulation does not walk through the front door. It comes in subtly. It enters through your trust. It attaches itself through your emotions. And before you know it, you are wearing a garment that does not belong to you, living a life that does not reflect your identity. But when light comes, manipulation loses its power. Then there is chaos, the spirit of confusion. It hides in the fabric of your decisions. You wake up with energy, but end the day without direction. You start projects, but finish none. You feel inspired, but never consistent. You plan for the week, but the week ends up planning you. It is like wearing a shirt inside out. Everything looks normal from afar, but those who get close realize something is off. Confusion is a garment that drains progress. It makes you busy but never productive. It makes you active but not effective. And if you do not discern that this is a spiritual atmosphere, you will think something is wrong with your personality, when in fact, something has been planted in the clothes of your destiny. And then there is weariness, a mysterious heaviness that sits on the shoulders of many. You wake up tired. You haven't done anything, but you feel drained. You haven't fought a battle, but you feel defeated. You haven't walked a journey, but you feel like you've run a marathon. You try to pray, but your spirit feels heavy. You try to plan, but your mind feels slow. You try to believe, but your faith feels suffocated. Weariness hides like dust trapped in fabric. You don't notice when it settles, but it accumulates over time until it begins to irritate everything in your life. And many don't even realize that this weight is spiritual, an assignment to slow you, discourage you, and drain your fire before you even reach your season of lifting. But hear me, you were never designed to walk through life wearing these garments. There is a version of you that is powerful, focused, sharp, confident, spiritually awakened, emotionally strengthened, mentally stable, and deeply rooted in purpose. That version of you cannot be hidden under the garments of fear, shame, confusion, manipulation, and weariness. Tonight, as you hear my voice, something begins to happen within you. Light begins to expose the things that were hiding. Fire begins to burn the things that were planted. Victory begins to rise where defeat once lived. The time has come for you to check the garments of your life. What have you been wearing that you did not put on? What has been following you that you never invited? What weight have you been carrying that does not belong to you? You cannot step into your destiny wearing the clothes of yesterday's battles. You cannot rise with garments that dim your light. You cannot become who you were born to be while wearing what life has forced onto your shoulders. Now your eyes are opening. Now your spirit is aligning. Now your destiny is awakening. Because when light exposes what hides in your garments, you do not fear. You rise. And from this moment, may nothing hidden have access to your life again. And there are moments when you begin to sense that something around you is not ordinary. You cannot explain it logically, yet your spirit becomes restless. You put on your clothes, you step out of your house, and suddenly the atmosphere feels heavier than usual. You start wondering why ordinary assignments suddenly feel overwhelming, why simple conversations drain you like you've poured out your entire strength, why environments that used to refresh you now suffocate you. It is because sometimes the enemy does not need to attack your life directly. He only needs to tamper with what you carry with you. Many people do not understand that spiritual influences can cling to atmospheres like fragrances cling to fabrics. You may not see them, but you can sense when they are present. Some of you listening to me know exactly what I am talking about. That feeling of strange heaviness that appears even after a good night of sleep. That sudden wave of sadness that has no cause. That unexplainable anxiety that rises out of nowhere. It feels like something is wearing you rather than you wearing your clothes. This is why discernment is powerful. Without discernment, you will keep calling spiritual battles mood swings. Without discernment, you will keep calling spiritual attacks bad days. Without discernment, you'll keep dressing in garments that were never designed for your destiny. There are people who step into their workplace and immediately feel hostility, not because anyone said anything openly, but because something is lodged in the atmosphere of that environment. There are people who walk into their homes and feel emotionally drained, Not because their house is uncomfortable, but because something invisible has found a place to hide. This is why many rise in the morning full of purpose, but end the day full of discouragement. Something has attached itself to their garments, their emotions, their thoughts, their decisions, pulling them backward when they are trying to move forward. Think of a person walking with a long rope tied secretly behind them. Every time they take a step, something else pulls them 10 steps backward. Not because they are weak, not because they are lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because something hidden has tied itself to their progress. This is the reality of so many people, wearing spiritual weights they did not authorize, carrying burdens that were not given by destiny. Sometimes what hides in your garments is a pattern, a cycle, something that follows your family line silently and attaches itself to you without your permission. You notice the same limitations, the same battles, the same struggles repeating themselves like a song stuck on loop. And you begin to wonder, why does this keep happening? Why do I start well but never finish? Why do opportunities come but never stay? Why do relationships begin beautifully but end painfully? It is because patterns are like threads woven into spiritual fabrics. They hide so subtly that unless you look with spiritual eyes, you will think your life is just unlucky, when in fact something has hidden itself in your garments, shaping your outcomes without your awareness. Then there is discouragement, an invisible cloak that has weakened more destinies than any external enemy ever could. There are people who wake up with dreams big enough to shake nations, yet they walk around every day with shoulders dropped and hearts tired because discouragement settled on them like dust. And the painful thing about discouragement is that it does not shout. It whispers. It does not come like a storm. It comes like a slow drip. You don't notice it until you wake up one day and realize the fire you once carried has dimmed. Discouragement hides in subtle disappointments, in delayed answers, in the silence you hear when you are expecting results. It hides in unanswered prayers, in slow progress, in situations that drag longer than you expected. And if you're not careful, you begin wearing discouragement as your identity, forgetting that you were designed for victory, not defeat. Another hidden object is distraction. It is one of the enemy's most effective garments because it looks harmless. It shows up in your schedule, in your conversations, in your entertainment, in your relationships. Distraction doesn't need to destroy your life. It only needs to slow you down long enough for destiny to pass you by. It hides in seemingly innocent things that consume your time, your focus, your clarity. And by the time you realize you've been distracted, the season that was supposed to lift you has already moved forward. Distraction makes you busy but spiritually empty. It keeps your hands full but your destiny stagnant. It makes you focus on the trivial while the crucial silently slips away. And until you recognize it, you will keep mistaking busyness for progress. Then there is the garment of comparison, one of the most subtle spiritual objects that many wear unknowingly. You look at someone else's journey and suddenly your own begins to feel insufficient. You see someone else celebrated and suddenly your value begins to shrink. You compare your chapter 2 with somebody's chapter 20 and then call yourself slow. Comparison weakens confidence. It kills gratitude. It blinds you to your own uniqueness. And the painful part is that comparison never comes loudly. It sneaks into your heart like a whisper. These hidden garments are not always visible, but they influence everything. Your decisions, your emotions, your relationships, your progress, your prayer life, your confidence, your perception of yourself and your future. And many people walk through life wearing these invisible objects, never understanding why everything feels heavier than it should. They think it is their fault. They think they're not disciplined enough, not spiritual enough, not strong enough. But the truth is that something has been hiding, secretly influencing them. Now pay attention, because the deeper we go, the clearer things become. Often, what hides in your garments is not just an attack. It is an assignment. It is planted strategically to weaken your identity, your passion, your clarity, your voice. Because the enemy knows that once you rise into the fullness of your identity, nothing in this world will be able to stop you. This is why he hides things, to keep you unaware, unprepared, unguarded, because anything exposed loses power. Anything revealed can be resisted. Anything brought into awareness can be overcome. And so the journey continues, the unveiling continues, the awakening continues. And as we keep peeling back these layers, you will begin to notice that nothing in your life is ever just ordinary. Everything carries a voice. Everything carries a presence. Everything carries an influence. Even the things you call small can be doorways. Even the things you ignore can be signals. Because the spiritual realm is always speaking, always moving, always shaping the realities you walk into. There are people who wonder why certain seasons of their lives feel strangely suffocating. You can be in a cold room but feel heat. You can be in a bright space but feel shadow. You can stand among people laughing but feel alone. And you don't understand that something has wrapped itself around your emotions. Something has quietly climbed onto your shoulders. Something has woven itself into the fabric of your day, hoping you never stop long enough to notice. And this is where the power of awareness becomes dangerous to darkness. Because the enemy thrives on silence, thrives on ignorance, thrives on assumptions. He wants you to think everything is just life, just chance, just stress. He wants you to dismiss spiritual weight as simple fatigue. He wants you to blame your destiny for battles that are not even yours. He wants you to identify yourself with things that were never designed to stay with you. But the moment you begin to see, the moment revelation touches your spirit, everything begins to shift. Because revelation is light and light is exposure. When the light of understanding hits your life, you suddenly realize this heaviness is not mine. This confusion is not mine. This fear is not mine. This pattern is not mine. This voice is not mine. And once you identify what is not yours, you stop carrying it. There are many walking around with garments of delay, invisible yet powerful. Not because they lack competence, not because they lack potential, but because something has been programmed to slow them. They take one step forward and something quietly pushes them 2 steps backward. They try to build momentum, but something eats the momentum from behind. They are close to open doors, but something hidden keeps them circling around the same mountain. Delay is subtle. It hides in your habits. It hides in your emotions. It hides in your distractions. It hides in unnecessary relationships that waste the time of your destiny. It hides in procrastination, in inconsistency, in exhaustion. And until you discern it, you will think your life is just slow, when in reality, something is interfering with the pace of your rising. And then there is the garment of forgetfulness, where opportunities come, but you forget to follow up. Ideas come, but you forget to write them down. Doors open, but you forget to enter. You remember every pain, but forget every instruction. Something keeps erasing the pathways of your progress, making you start over again and again, not because you lack intelligence, but because something has tampered with your memory gates. Forgetfulness is not always natural. Sometimes it is a spiritual thief. It steals the lessons you were supposed to build upon. It steals the divine nudges you are supposed to act on. It steals the warnings you are supposed to remember. And when a person forgets what destiny needs them to remember, their steps become scattered even when the path is clear. And then there is the garment of unnecessary warfare. Battles that come out of nowhere, storms that make no sense, attacks that don't match your season. You wake up in peace, but chaos finds you. You try to pray, but something begins to resist you. You try to focus, but your mind becomes restless. You try to speak positively, but something whispers negativity louder. Warfare attaches itself like a tag on clothes, small but irritating, harmless looking, yet constantly distracting, constantly pulling your attention, constantly draining your peace. And the enemy knows that if he cannot stop your destiny, he can exhaust you before you reach it. He can distract you before you arrive. He can tire you before your moment comes. He can make you so battle weary that when your breakthrough finally arrives, you cannot even recognize it. Now listen carefully. One of the most subtle hidden objects that many carry unknowingly is the garment of overthinking. This one hides in the folds of your mind. It takes your peace hostage by replaying scenarios that may never happen. It makes you mentally rehearse disasters instead of possibilities. It keeps you trapped in endless loops of analysis until your spirit becomes paralyzed. People think overthinking is just a personality trait, but spiritually it is a snare. It drains energy. It kills focus. It magnifies problems. It silences intuition. It replaces faith with speculation. And when a person begins to overthink everything, they stop trusting their own discernment. They start doubting every instruction. They begin to delay every decision. Overthinking can bury a destiny faster than failure ever could. And then there is the garment of emotional instability, where your emotions begin to fluctuate without reason. You feel inspired in the morning, but empty by noon. You feel strong today, but broken tomorrow. Something keeps shaking your emotional foundation. Something keeps attacking your stability. Something keeps interfering with your peace. And people think it's just life, but many times it is something hiding in the garments of your inner world. You must understand, nothing hides in your garments unless it wants access to your journey. Nothing attaches itself unless it wants influence. Nothing blends into your atmosphere unless it wants to shape your decisions. And many people are fighting battles they did not create, carrying burdens they did not authorize, wearing garments they did not sew. And yet, life continues. You move, you work, you smile, you talk. But deep within, something is draining you. Something is pulling you. Something is resisting you. And you don't even know where to point your finger. You know something is off, but you cannot identify it. And that is exactly how hidden things operate. They remain silent but effective, quiet but destructive, invisible but impactful. And as this unveiling stretches deeper, something begins to happen inside you. You start realizing that life is not just what you see. Life is also what you carry. You come to understand that atmospheres can travel with you. Energies can attach themselves to you, and influences can wrap around your soul like an invisible fabric. And until you learn to examine the garments of your inner life, you will keep misinterpreting spiritual signals as ordinary experiences. There are people who move through life wearing the garment of misunderstanding. Everywhere they go, their intentions are twisted. They speak one thing and people hear another. They try to help and people misinterpret it. They try to love, but people suspect them. Nothing they say lands correctly. Nothing they do is perceived accurately. This garment hides subtly. It makes you feel like the world is against you when in reality something has tampered with the clarity of your communication. Misunderstanding is a quiet destroyer. It isolates you. It frustrates you. It pushes away the people destiny ordained for your rising. It creates unnecessary conflict and silently breaks meaningful relationships. And many walk around wondering why connection feels difficult, why conversations turn into battles, why good intentions backfire. They don't know that something has wrapped itself around their interactions, distorting the flow of favor and alignment meant to reach them. Another object that hides within the garments of people is the weight of unspoken expectations. You carry pressure that nobody placed on you. You feel obligated to succeed quickly, to perform perfectly, to be strong always. And you do not realize that some of these expectations are not your own. They were planted by comparison, by society, by people, by fear. They become spiritual burdens disguised as ambition. You dress yourself for the day, but unknowingly you also wear the demands of others. And you wonder why your spirit feels tight, why your journey feels heavy, why you are tired even before you start. It's because you're wearing a garment you were never meant to carry. There is also the hidden garment of emotional attachments, ties that form invisibly, connecting your spirit to places you left long ago, to people who no longer walk in your path, to seasons that have expired. You move forward physically, but emotionally, you remain anchored to something behind you. And you do not realize how much energy it takes to walk toward the future while chained to the past. Attachments like these hide skillfully. They disguise themselves as memories, as nostalgia, as loyalty, but spiritually, they pull you backward, preventing you from fully stepping into the version of yourself that destiny is calling. Some people carry the garment of inner vows, promises they made to themselves in moments of pain. I will never trust again. I will never love again. I don't need anyone. I will always be alone. I'm fine on my own. These words feel like self-protection, but spiritually they become chains. These inner vows sow themselves into your emotional fabric, influencing your choices, filtering your relationships, blocking opportunities. And you don't even realize you are wearing them. They hide so quietly that they become part of your personality, although they were born from wounds, not wisdom. Then there is the garment of unseen jealousy, something people rarely admit. It hides deep, deep within the folds of the heart. You love others, but sometimes you feel a sting when someone rises. You celebrate others, but secretly you ask, when will it be my turn? Jealousy does not mean you are a bad person. It only means something has entered your heart uninvited. And if left undetected, it begins to stain your purity, your peace, your joy. It shifts your focus from your own journey to the journeys of others. It weighs your spirit with silent comparison, robbing you of contentment. And some carry the garment of spiritual numbness. Once upon a time, you could sense when something was wrong. You could feel when an atmosphere shifted. You could pick up the slightest spiritual movement. But slowly, life layered weight upon weight, disappointment upon disappointment, routine upon routine, until your sensitivity dulled. You still pray, but you don't feel. You still believe, but you don't perceive. You still speak faith, but your inner fire is dim. It is not that you are weak. Something has wrapped itself around your discernment, suppressing the sharpness you once carried. Then there is the garment of survival mode, a dangerous one because it teaches you to function but not flourish. Survival mode makes you accept crumbs when you are destined for abundance. It makes you celebrate minimum breakthroughs because you've forgotten what real victory feels like. Survival mode is an invisible cloak that tells you just get by, just endure, just cope, just manage. And many have worn this garment for so long it feels normal. But spiritually, it suppresses expectation, weakens vision, and shrinks destiny. And there are garments that look innocent, but are deeply destructive. The garment of busyness without purpose. You are constantly moving but never arriving, constantly working but never progressing, constantly planning but never executing. Busyness hides in productivity's clothing, but it produces exhaustion, not elevation. And many do not know that the enemy does not need to destroy them. He only needs to keep them too busy to grow. And then there is the garment of muted identity. You know who you are deep within, but something keeps suppressing your voice, your courage, your expression. You want to rise, but something whispers, stay small. You want to speak, but something says, keep quiet. You want to stretch, but something pushes you back. This garment hides in experiences of rejection, in moments where people did not value you, in situations where your voice was ignored. Over time, you begin to shrink yourself, not because you lack potential, but because something has been woven into your confidence. These hidden objects, fear, shame, distraction, emotional exhaustion, comparison, inner vows, spiritual dullness, discouragement, delay, they all have one assignment: to keep you from recognizing who you truly are and what you truly carry. And many people wake up every day wearing these things unknowingly. They go to work with them. They enter relationships with them. They pursue their dreams with them. And they wonder why everything feels heavier, slower, harder than it should. Because when something is hiding in your garments, it affects your posture. It affects your movement. It affects your direction. It affects your clarity, affects your speed. And so the unveiling continues. The layers keep unfolding. The atmosphere keeps shifting. Bow. And now, after everything that has been unveiled, listen to me very carefully, because this is where the weight of understanding becomes transformation. The greatest tragedy is not that something hid in your garments. The tragedy is when you discover it and still continue as though nothing was revealed. Revelation is responsibility. Light demands response. What you see must influence how you rise. What you discern must affect how you walk. You cannot know these things and remain casual. You cannot recognize the invisible weight on your soul and continue carrying it as though it belongs to you. There comes a moment when you make a decision, a violent, non-negotiable, destiny-defining decision, that everything hidden in your life that God did not place must be removed. Every garment that slows you must be dropped. Every object secretly influencing your life must be exposed, rejected, and thrown out of your destiny. You were not born to walk bound. You are not created to live confused. You are not designed to carry weights that suffocate your identity. You are crafted with intention, separated for impact, wired for greatness. Your life is too meaningful, your purpose too holy, your destiny too precious to be suffocated by things hiding in the shadows of your journey. There is a version of you, stronger, clear, wiser, brighter, more disciplined, more focused, more spiritually sharp, that cannot emerge as long as these hidden objects remain attached to your inner garments. Something must be stripped away for something greater to be revealed. Your next season is not waiting for more strength. It's waiting for less weight. Your next level is not demanding more effort. It is demanding more clarity. Your breakthrough is not postponed because heaven is slow. It is waiting for you to remove what has been silently resisting your rising. This is the moment where you decide that enough is enough, that fear will not hide in your life again, that discouragement will not attach itself to your garments again, that confusion will not govern your atmosphere again, that delay, distraction, emotional instability, comparison, spiritual numbness, everything that has followed you silently will lose its grip from this moment. You were never meant to be a victim of hidden things. You were created to walk in dominion, to carry an atmosphere of fire, to move with clarity, purity, and boldness. When you stand in your true identity, nothing hiding in the shadows can survive the light you carry. When you rise with understanding, everything that once controlled you begins to break. When you take responsibility for your spiritual garments, every influence not aligned with your purpose begins to fall away. And hear me, your life begins to accelerate the moment you refuse to carry what is not yours. Your peace returns, your discernment sharpens, your confidence rises, your joy strengthens, your atmosphere shifts, your destiny realigns, because nothing hidden can survive in the presence of a person who has awakened. So today, rise with understanding, rise with clarity, rise with boldness, strip off every invisible weight, remove every garment that does not belong to your destiny, and walk forward, light, free, focused, and unstoppable into the future that was written for you from the beginning of time. The moment you remove what was hiding, nothing can stop what is coming.